We're going to move directly to fan favorites of shout outs and rants. We'll keep the same order. So, Matt, do you have a shout out and or rant for us today?
I do have a shout out. We are recording this the day after the Democratic National Convention. And I was thinking about that and wanted to give a shout out to all of the Republican officials because there were several who spoke at the Democratic convention, basically to say, we don't really love Kamala Harris's policies, but Donald Trump is a existential threat to the country, so we're endorsing her anyways. And that takes a lot of nerve for Republicans to do that. In a certain sense, these people are whistleblowers. They have been chased out of their jobs. They have ruined their career prospects. They have lost a lot of their friends. And that is exactly what most whistleblowers at corporate compliance programs, we talk about that sort of pressure all the time. And that is what people like former Congressman Adam Kinzinger or the former Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, whose name I believe is Robert Duncan, don't hold me to that, and several others, they all came and they all spoke to a bunch of people who would normally hate their guts. And it takes a lot of nerve and commitment for that because these Republican whistleblowers were basically calling out the CEO of their now former organization to say this man is unfit and he is doing wrong things and he should not be in a position of leadership. If an employee was doing that at a company, we'd be holding them up as a paragon of whistleblower courage. And we should be doing the same for these folks who were at the DNC. Good for them. And if they then want to fight Kamala Harris, if she wins, that's a different story. And they can have that fight in 2025, and that's fine. But what they did today, this week, took a lot of courage. So good for them.
Jonathan Marks, you have a shout out and or rant for us?
I have a shout out, but I don't talk politics. I have a shout out to the researchers at the University of Pennsylvania, right here in the city of brotherly love, because they have developed a new, it's called the CART cell therapy that has shown remarkable success in treating certain types of leukemia and lymphoma. And patients who have exhausted all of their treatment options are now achieving remission, offering new hope to cancer therapies. And I just think this is freaking remarkable. I'm not that smart to be a researcher, but for all the folks that are working on this project, kudos to you.
Can I echo that? My dad died of lymphoma.
Karen Moore, do you have a shout out and or rant for us?
I sure do. I've got a shout out to my students in my Fordham Law class this term. We had our first class on Wednesday and a really vigorous discussion of shareholder primacy and stakeholder capitalism. They were fantastic. I hope they learn nearly as much as I do from these conversations. And Jonathan Armstrong, I'm just warming them up for your international compliance course.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Karen Woody.
My shout out is akin to Matt's, but my shout out is actually to whoever it is that is producing and running the event that we saw this week at the DNC. Talk about working around the clock. I assume these people haven't slept in a week, but it's been one of the most well-oiled machines in a way, and they've had to pivot on the fly. The stuff they've been able to include that clearly could have only been created and done within the last couple of days. It's unbelievable. And so whoever is the event coordinator and logistic manager for this incredible event we saw this week, my shout out is to them.
Jonathan Armstrong.
Mine's slightly longer than usual, so Matt is able to leave mid-rant should you wish. When you tour Victorian stately homes in the UK, you sometimes get these embroidery things with bon mot phrases tapestried on them. And I want to start a crowdfunding campaign. In the UK, we have a phrase, keep your mouth shut and let people think you're an idiot, rather than opening your mouth and proving it. And I would like a tapestry picture of that to be put on Elon Musk's wall. I think he's certainly changed the way in which social media works, and not in a good way. I spoke on what I thought was the sort of the start of the demise of Elon Musk at the SCCE conference in Amsterdam about 18 months ago. And it's the one where I think I've had the most reaction of pro-Musk people coming up to me and saying almost that was inappropriate for a talk at a compliance conference and how great Elon Musk was and an exemplar to the next generation. I know that at least one of those people has been kind enough to reach out afterwards and say that he was wrong. I was very interested and struck by an interview I did with the late Richard Levick, where he talked about the way in which Musk had almost duped the liberal middle class in America into thinking he was pro-environment, for example, whilst at the same time producing cars that don't have a great safety record, don't have a great environmental record, and using the credits from producing those vehicles to make profit by selling those credits to the diesel car manufacturers that he seemed to be trying to attack. And I believe it's the case that in one quarter, Tesla made more credit from selling what you would regard as poison credits than it did from manufacturing vehicles. And what's made me look at this more is the role of X, I hate to call it X, formerly known as Twitter, in the UK riots. We've had riots that have been fomented in part by X, in part by Elon Musk himself engaging, and in part, it seems, by steering the algorithm to put hate-filled messages above those of unity. As a result, we've had 1,000 arrests, and I would shout out to the new administration, since Tom invited me to earlier. They have already jailed 139 of those people, some within 72 hours. The way in which the criminal justice system has worked has been amazing to get people to trial, still a fair trial. Most of them have been guilty pleas, and into jail very quickly. That's almost certainly put a lid on riots that would have happened, but would have happened because of the role of social media in this. Now, in the UK, we have a mere conduit defense for which I think you have as Section 230, I think. So in essence, the fact that a social media platform republishes the content of others does not make the platform in itself liable. But I think we should revisit that. I think that there is, to my mind, no sense in thinking that Elon Musk here is a mere conduit. He's a player. He's taking part in the debate. So if he won't listen to the tapestry that we're crowdfunding for his wall, I think we need to revisit Section 130, revisit mere conduit, and think of making those who use social media and own social media responsible for content.
Is Rick Springfield singing Jessie's Girl? Jessie's Girl is one of the two most sung songs from the 1980s. So today's Rick Springfield's birthday. And if you don't know Jessie's Girl, go listen to it. It's a great song and you'll be singing it within the next 30 minutes.